Good morning, friends. The message today is Our Home by the Spirit Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. The mind is the living home where each of us live according to our own conceptions. Imagination is the architect of our true residence. If we think that gold should be the most desirable material for our improvement, then soon we will suffer the destructive winds or the freezing ambition, envy, remorse, and boredom, which often envelop fortune within its castle of improvidence. If we think that human power should be the exclusive shelter for our spirit, then soon we will be facing disillusion, which usually marks the forehead of those who have been deceived by uncontrolled authority. If we find pleasure in criticizing or being imprudent, then naturally we will delay ourselves in the fields of disturbance and slander. In spirit, we live where we project our thoughts. We breathe either the good or evil according to the preference of our lives. On earth, very often, we live a life of opulence and sumptuousness, thus placing ourselves innerly in deplorable situations of suffering and darkness. Only the incessant work in the good can give us the miraculous chemistry of love for the sublimation of our inner home. Because of this, Jesus said, "My Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too am working." Let us project more light on the pathway. Thus, let us embrace the inexhaustible services towards our fellow beings, so that our experience on earth may reach the climax, happy and victorious in the splendors of heaven. Thank you, Tony. Friends, let us raise our thoughts in prayer, feeling the presence of the good and loving spirits with us. Dear Mother, Father God, what a gift of life. To be able to be here, receiving these wonderful vibrations of hope and joy. To be aware of life continuum. To know that life is much more than the eyes can see. But in this prayer, we want to thank you for giving us this physical body as an instrument for this reincarnation. We want to embrace each cell with gratitude for the work that they do, sustaining us in the learning experiences. May we be kind to our physical bodies. May we discipline it with love as we discipline ourselves in kindness, in your loving care. Thinking of the many people at this moment in the world who are suffering all sorts of difficulties, from hunger to cold to cruelties of all sorts, injustices. We pray for everyone, but especially we pray for children and teens around the world who deserve the full awareness and the support of parents and educators and our society, caring for each one of them, protecting them, leading them to the right direction as we would like to receive it ourselves. Feeling your loving care, your abundant providence,
We ask for your guidance, feeling your protection as you mercifully grant us the permission to begin this therapeutic meeting with you. So be it. Before everybody goes, we want everybody to participate. Look at this. Take a look. I know. We'll show it to you. Carlos Estornero. Thank you. Magically. Is it on? No. This is the topic today, progressing always. Spiritist question. Mini trivia. Mini quiz. You're so cute. You're good students. Quiz. Do we ever regress?
No, we don't.
You know what I mean? Do we ever go back in our progress?
No.
Why not?
Because we're too smart for that.
Are we or is God?
Go.
God. You said it right. Because God created us and He's so wise, He created us to progress always. So if we say, oh, I thought I aced at this, but I didn't, it means I'm still here and I'm not there where I thought I was, but I didn't regress. So I progress always. Are these good news?
Yeah.
So go enjoy your lesson today. All right? Progressing always. So, these are wonderful news. Imagine when the world gets to know that we progress and we never regress. It's going to change our lives. It's going to change the way we feel about ourselves. It's going to change the way we feel about people. Because we'll never lose hope. We'll never look at somebody and say, oh, that person is never going to amount to anything. Because the plan of God is we progress always. And not only we individually, but collectively. Nowadays, after this pandemic, the world is trying to find itself. Who am I? Where do I want to be? People want to move, want to do this, want to do that. So it's what Divaldo Franco told me these days. It's this collective existential crisis. Quite interesting. But as we are progressing always, where are we as a world? None of us seated in this room can go outside the door and say, oh, the world is getting worse. Because if we do, we don't know of this. Today, Paloma is going to share with us a passage that was published in 1864 through Kardec's efforts in the book The Gospel According to Spiritism. Spiritism is a science, the science of immortality. And there in this message, which is the last message of chapter 3 of the Gospel According to Spiritism, the third book of the Spiritist codification, he talks about progression of the worlds. Actually, Kardec didn't write that piece himself, but through a medium, he received that information from the Spirit Saint Augustine, and he reports to us the good news about this collective progress. And Paloma is going to help us understand this very important message. All right, Paloma.
Okay now? Friends, we're just testing just to make sure the tech is all back. But I probably should continue talking, otherwise we won't know if the volume is working. I guess that makes sense why Carlos cannot hear us. Let me lift this a little bit. All right. So we'll keep going and hopefully everything is okay. Yes, thank you, Carlos. All right. So when we study this, at least for me, and we know there are many worlds, and God had a huge plan for every single one of us, it brings me a lot of comfort, which Spiritism is the promised consoler. We are not, the only ones in the universe. If the planet disappears, it's not like we don't have anywhere else to go. So we don't have to be too worried about that, other than our responsibility as spirits. So, and that's what we're going to talk about, the progression of worlds. In St. Augustine, this is by St. Augustine in 1862, he starts by saying, progress is one of the laws of nature, meaning it's a divine law. We don't have a choice. We cannot say, oh, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm going to stay here. Can't. So much so that we are already humans and we're not minerals. We've been progressing. And we are at this current state that we are in a planet of trials and expiation towards a planet of regeneration. We're not going to go back anymore to a primitive world. We already did that. And a tip we received from Professor Euripides Barçanufo is to observe nature. And in nature, everything progresses. You don't have a tree that decides to be very short and stay there, and that's it for that tree. The tree grows, it's born, and it grows, and it grows, and it grows, and it goes through a cycle, and then comes back. So he says, all animate and inanimate beings of creation are submitted to it by the goodness of God, who wills for everything to grow and prosper. This law is in us, it's in our conscience, so it's very natural for us to look for progress, for doing things differently. Thank goodness. Otherwise, we would really struggle. And then St. Augustine says, death, which to humans appears to be the end of things, is only a means of reaching a more perfect state
through transformation, since everything dies in order to be reborn, and nothing suffers annihilation. This is a reminder for us as we are the way we deal with death. Nothing dies. Nothing dies. Nothing. The body stays. Perhaps when we look at our pets, yes, their body stays, but they're also in their journey of progress. We are in our journey of progress. And in this process of transformation, which we call death, but it's really transformation, we go back to the spiritual realm, we come back here, we go back to spiritual realm, we're back and forth, we're transforming ourselves, we're progressing. There's a lot of learning that happens in that process. Much easier said than done. I understand that when we're actually faced with death, we still have a shaky relationship. That's why the spirits bring the topic. They want us to talk about it so we get more used to it. Because death is life. It's just life after life, and then life again, and life after life. It's okay. We don't disappear. There's no annihilation. We don't just become dust. It's great. It's good news. Good news, and we wish we could tell the whole world, the people that really think they disappear into air, and you're like, I wish you knew this. I wish you could feel that life continues, that there's so much more to life than what the eyes can see or that we can perceive. But as we talk about transformation and we talk about life and progression, we go back to the Spirit's book. So we pause on St. Augustine and we go to the Spirit's book. In the Spirit's book, with all the laws, there's a law of destruction. How come? Why is there a natural law about destruction? It's so interesting, go there and read. There's so much to this chapter on the law of destruction on the Spirit's book, starting on question 728. Kardec says, is destruction a law of nature? What do we think? Yes. Sometimes to rebuild something stronger, we need to actually get rid of those foundations that were shaky. Sometimes our houses, if they're built in, some old construction and not leveled properly and there was an earthquake, do we want to live there? No, we want to start over, get rid of it, rebuild. And that's what the law of destruction says. Sometimes it is necessary for everything to be destroyed in order to be reborn and regenerated. What you call, or what we call, destruction is only a transformation, the objective of which is the renovation and improvement of living creatures. When we look in the world, so if we stop right now, we're talking about the progression of worlds, progressing always. And we look and we're saying, where is progress? Because we look around and we're like, Mamma mia, there's so many things happening that it doesn't seem that we are progressing. It feels like we're going backwards. Feels like our civilization is doing things that it shouldn't have been doing anymore. Why? Why does God allow it? Because everybody has a chance. Before we do this, start over. So we're seeing a lot of the spirits reincarnating again for the last time on this planet to have a chance. And yes, it's causing some, shaking issues in our planet. But nevertheless, the planet will move forward. That's a given. With or without us, the planet will be a planet of regeneration because it's a God law, it's the law of progress. We might see some things. So when we look at natural disasters, for example, why are there natural disasters? Are we happy when they happen? No. When we see people, as part of those hurricanes and tsunamis and earthquakes, we are compassionate, we feel it, we wish we were not going through it. But the Spirit says, the good spirits explain that sometimes these hurricanes come because it needs to displace the vibrations that are localized in some areas. It's almost like they're coming and cleansing. So it is sometimes a destruction that is necessary. We just can't see what's next. That's where our vision is still so, like we have tunnel vision. We're only seeing right now and we cannot see past it. So it's an exercise for us to be like, why did this happen? There must be a reason if God allowed it. It's not just coincidence. It's not out of the blue. It's not a God's whim. God will not be like, oh, today I feel like a tsunami. It happens for a reason. There is a plan behind everything. So then back now to the gospel. And St. Augustine says, at the same time that living beings progress morally, the worlds they inhabit progress materially. If we go to the book Nosso Lar, and we see the description of the city, they are so much more advanced than we are. So much more, right? Like their buildings are just beautiful. The construction, the way the city is designed, the way there is transportation of the autobus that they go to places. And they have all the equipment that has been developed. We think we have cell phones now and, here and there, but there's so much more ahead. And it's because as we develop, so does progress come with it, materially too. We know that as spirits, we're developing two fronts, the intelligence and the moral. And as we reincarnate, sometimes we work on one, sometimes on the other, and we keep switching. At one point, those two things go together, right? We can recognize that there are some very smart people, but morally it's a problem. They're not using that intelligence for the good of the majority, or sometimes not even for the good at all. And sometimes we see people that are, let's say, perhaps simple, but you look at them and morally, they are strong. I mean, Chico Xavier was out of school by 4th grade. 4th grade, no PhD, no master, no college, but morally rock solid. And when, of course, we look at our Master Jesus, he is that perfect combination. Knows about everything, the governor of the planet, really everything, but humble. but caring, loving, kind, truthful, divine virtues. But we have to visualize, as again we were talking about, you know, we have to perceive reality different, see what's ahead of us. We need to visualize ourselves in the planet of regeneration. What would it look like? Because we cannot live in the now. If we're here right now and only looking at the world as it is, we might be like, I don't know about this. 2057 is a little far. Am I going to make it there? I don't know. But if we visualize what a planet of regeneration could be, that can be exciting. We have something to look forward to. It gives purpose to our life right now. It says, I know what I'm working towards. And it doesn't matter if what you picture is exactly what's going to be. Doesn't matter, because it's our own view of what a planet of regeneration can be or could be. And to help us, we illustrated with some pictures from No Solar, just for us to feel it. In No Solar, friends, we were just saw this picture this morning that was explaining about the 7 layers of our planet. No Solar is not in the 7th layer all the way far away from us. They are in the umbral, just a little bit higher. Not much further from where we are. We are in the umbral too. We're right so close to the crust of the earth. Chico Xavier used to say that to be on the umbral, the umbral begins where our nose ends. So we don't even have to worry, where are we? We're everybody in the same place. It's all good. So it's No Solar. And it already looks amazing. And St. Augustine said, the progress of human beings, animals, their helpers. I thought that was so wise from St. Augustine. Our helpers, plants, and the forms of habitations progressing parallel. Nothing in nature remains stationary. So we're not the only ones progressing. Everything's progressing together. Plants, animals, our forms of living, music. In No Solar, they describe music, flowers, water, birds. Everything is described. And Andrea Luiz is in awe of what he can see there. And so much so that I wanted to read directly a little piece from the book No Solar. If you haven't seen the movie, watch it. It helps with this visual of what does it look like. What could the planet of regeneration looks like. So in this chapter, in the Forest of Waters, chapter 10, they talk a lot about water and the importance of water, how it cleanses our spirit, how they use as medicine. It's so beautiful, water as medicine, right? But look at what André Luiz says and try to imagine, okay? He says, the scenery in front of me was of sublime beauty. The forest was in full bloom, and the fresh air was embalmed with an intoxicating fragrance. He says that the flowers in No Solar, the colors he can't describe, they're so beautiful that it's like, I've never seen this. It was all an extraordinary gift of color and mellow light. A large river wound its way leisurely between luxuriant grassy banks sprinkled with blue flowers. Are you imagining this? Grass, blue flowers, a beautiful river. Seems like so peaceful, everything smelling so good, calm. The water ran by so peacefully, so crystalline, that is seemed tinted in sky blue, mirroring the color of the firmament. Wide pathways cut through the green landscape. Leafy trees were planted at regular intervals along them, offering friendly shade like pleasant shelters in the light of the comforting sun. Fancifully shaped benches invited one to rest. He is admiring nature. And then Lysias walks with him and explains a lot to André Luiz. He says, we are in the forest of waters, and it is one of the most beautiful regions of Nosso It is one of the favorite meeting places for lovers. I thought that was kind of funny that Lysias explained that. Who come here to exchange beautiful vows of love and fidelity for their future experiences on earth. Imagine this so we stop and we imagine the rivers in the planet of regeneration. What would it look like? I don't think it would look like the Potomac. The Potomac is getting better, but it's no crystalline water. It's awfully busy, so it's kind of hard to be peaceful sitting there because there are boats and then waves and then paddle people and kayakers. It's like really busy. So it's not quite the image that André Luiz is describing here for us. I don't know of anywhere that I could imagine on our planet that I could say, I think I've seen this image. But we can start picturing it. What would it be to walk around along a river that is crystal clear, peaceful, and healing? Because later on, which we're not going to read, he's going to talk about the use of water from this river as medicine. So then St. Augustine continues back to the gospel. He says, the earth, according to the law, was once materially and morally in a state inferior to today, and under this dual aspect, it will reach a more elevated degree. So when Vanessa asked that question, do we regress? No, we don't regress, neither will our planet. It doesn't regress. We might reincarnate somewhere else. We might reincarnate in a different planet that is in a less primitive stage, but we are going to still be the stage we are today. And that's painful. I'll read a little bit later for you guys about this book, On the Way to the Light. Amazing book, Emmanuel through Chico Xavier. What happened on the way to the light? There was a place called Capella, different planet. It was going through what planet Earth is going through right now. It's, from trial and expiation, moving to regeneration. Everybody was evolving. The planet is evolving. It got to a point that you could only stay on the planet if you were kind of the same level as the evolution of the planet. If you were not, you had to reincarnate somewhere else. What happened? Those that couldn't stay in Capella came to planet Earth. And you go to the book, and it's going to talk about the Egyptian civilization. How come we have pyramids? The answer. They brought that knowledge with them. It was very hard. Imagine they came from a planet that was much more evolved than planet Earth and got here, and we had nothing. It was tough. They talk about India. They'll talk about the people of Israel. They'll talk about China. They talk about Rome. They'll explain so many civilizations and how it came about and how spirits that reincarnated from Capella were here and what they had to deal with. But nevertheless, we're grateful to them because while it was hard for those spirits, it elevated planet Earth. They brought a lot of knowledge with them. When St. Augustine says, it has arrived, so Earth has arrived at one of its periods of transformation, in which, from being an expiatory world, it will become a regenerative one. Then humans will be happy because God's law will reign on it. St. Augustine is not, it's not a question, it's not perhaps. He is telling us what's going to happen. We might doubt it because we'll be like, how would St. Augustine know it in 1862, right? And that's where our faith has to come back and say, well, we're studying all of this. There are so many accounts. There are, people that study this book in and out on the way to the light. Like tracking the actual star, you can go look at Capella, where does it stay in the universe? To me, there's no doubt. We are in the process of transformation. The question is, how do we feel, each one of us? And with that certainty, where do we want to be? I don't want to go back. I would rather go forward if God allows. I want to see what a planet of regeneration looks like. That's what the focus is. What do we have to do today so that we are allowed to see what's to come, right? And when St. Augustine says, we'll be happy because God's law will reign on it, we understand that a lot of what happens to us is because we're misaligned with the divine laws. God says, love everybody. And we're like, oh, everybody? Like, can I love just some people, but not everybody? Do I really need to love my neighbor? Seriously? Or this person at work, she's annoying? He says everybody. And then we don't feel great. And that's why St. Augustine is saying, when we are aligned with God, then we'll be happy. We're working towards. A reminder for us. What does the progression of worlds look like? So there are many different categories. So we go back, primitive worlds, first incarnation of human souls. We can imagine kind of like caveman style, huh? Brute force, no industry or inventions. Cavemen. Now imagine people from Capella, the spirit from Capella coming back from planet Earth to planet Earth in a primitive world stage. They're like, wow, we're building, we have pyramids and they have caves and fire. No wheel. That's tough. The next phase, worlds of trial and expiation. What is the characteristic of a world of trial and expiation? That there's still a lot of evil. So we say that our planet, planet Earth, which is a world of trial and expiation, is like a school because we come to learn. But it's almost like a hospital too. We're still very sick. There's still a lot of healing to happen. There's a lot of rescue from errors from the past that we're working on. So that's why we need to expiate of things that we've done in the past. We just have to get rid, right? Diseases. They're all coming through. Fine. Get rid of the things in the past. And then we're learning new things. Trial. We're building muscle. Because there's no way to get to the next phase if we don't have moral muscle, which is regenerative worlds. In the regenerative worlds, it's not that evil doesn't exist, but it's not prevalent anymore. Now, good is prevalent. There are no wars. Yes, we're looking forward to that. No more wars. We still have to expiate, but we can recoup our energies. We can breathe there. Like, okay, continue building that muscle, build stamina for another phase, which is happy worlds, which just says what it is. In our solar system, a happy world is Jupiter. And I think in one of the Spiritist magazines, you can go see the drawings of Mozart's home in Jupiter, what it looks like. So at least we can visualize, again, like No Solar did, but now even more. Happy world. And also, Chico Xavier's mom, when she started writing and sending him messages, she was allowed to travel to many different planets. So you can find her accounts about this traveling and how she describes so many different planets, including Jupiter. She was allowed to visit. And then above happy worlds, celestial worlds, pure spirits, only good, no evil. So we know where we're going. We're heading in this direction, more evolved. And we can now, if we could almost assign the virtues that we need to develop for these different worlds, right? If good is more prevalent than evil in the regenerative world, then we need to work on doing the good more often. Because in happy worlds, the next level, that's not even a thing to think about. You just do it. You just feel it. You wake up. Well, actually, you don't sleep because spirits don't sleep. You're just every day, all the time, doing the good without thinking. It's already part of their nature. While for us, we need to write on the calendar and we need to schedule. For the good spirits, just second nature. They're just doing it. In the Spirit's book, and this is where he really gets into us. Kardec, great questions always. He asks, question 785, what is the greatest obstacle to progress? So why can't we not do better? Now Paloma saying, please, this is not for me. This is from the good spirits through the mediums that told Kardec. He says, or they say, pride and selfishness. So when we are trying to change and we keep making the same mistakes, which I am sure we all do in one area or another or multiple areas, we need to stop and ask, why is pride and selfishness in that point? Because that's what it comes down to. Our pride and our selfishness deters our progress. Not regress, but it can, makes us stationary for a little bit. And they continue, thank goodness, but this state of things shall only last for a while. Again, we're not going to be in that state forever. Life will push us. It will change as man better understands that beyond the enjoyment of earthly possessions lies an infinitely greater and longer lasting bliss. When we are able to perceive that our material beings shouldn't be our priorities, that's when we'll see progress really happen faster. Our materialistic way of living, which is not lasting, the good spirits are saying, but it does ground us all the time. So, if we had to go back to our planet and our virtues, and we had to write some virtues to develop, letting go of materialism in whatever way we could let go. Much easier said than done. I understand. Sometimes I was thinking at home, organizing my books, my spirits books that we love so dearly. And I was wondering, would I be able to give them away? It seems silly. And my answer to myself was like, no, not my spiritist books. I was like, I love them so much. I make notes. I write when I study them. Silly. But proves to us and to me personally how attached we are to silly things. And then we go study books where it shows that when we are discarnating and we can't have a very peaceful discarnation, is because we are connected. We have, like our perispirit is connected to many points that are material things. A watch, a wallet. And I'm thinking mine are like my spiritist books. Like, and the spirits are probably laughing like, Paloma, come on, you know better than that. Let go. There's so many people that need your books. But here I am. I'm like, not them. Other books, but not my spiritist books. Funny, but very real. And this is where I want to go back to the book On the Way to the Light. Friends, it is worth reading this. It explains our planet, the genesis, how all the spirits came here to help us. In our role in Americas, they specifically address the Americas. We're not here by chance. Because in God's plan, there's no chance. And Emmanuel, right on the introduction. So this book is it was published in 1939. 1939. What was happening in the world in 1939? There was a lot of convulsion, war. It was crazy times in our planet. And Emmanuel says, the determinism of love and the good is the law of the whole universe. And the human soul emerges from every catastrophe looking for a better life. Every. So comes the law of destruction, something happens, but no matter what, we are still progressing. It's the law of the whole universe. Then he says, Jesus, only Jesus, has stood firm on the dolorous pathway of the races in his aim to tear down all barriers to universal fraternity. He is the light of the beginning, and the destiny of the world rests in his compassionate hands. His magnanimous soul is the fount of life for all earthly humanity. His message of love in the gospel is the eternal world of resurrection, justice, fraternity, and mercy. All things human have passed away. All things human shall change. But he is the light of all life on earth and is untouched by time and destruction. So this is Emmanuel telling us that no matter what, we have our guiding model to show us the way. He did not have to reincarnate in our planet. Jesus did his, he went through his progress, which he did somewhere else, not in this planet. Of course, he was in charge from the beginning of the creation of it. But he came to demonstrate to us that it's possible for us to live a life in the world, but not be of the world. That we can be here going through this motion of progress. We will feel it because in a planet of trial and expiation, and I'll show you guys, it says life is not easy and it's not supposed to be. So we're not expecting it to be a walk in the park. It wasn't for Jesus. Who are we to think that we're not going to go through issues? But nevertheless, God is so good that there is a plan. That we need to feel inside of us that the regeneration is coming. That there is nothing we can do to stop it. Because it's a divine law. It doesn't matter if you are a spiritist or not, if you know of it or not, if you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It applies to everybody and every living thing. And not even living, because he said that even materially, progress will happen. It will all progress together. So we need to stop as we get ready to move for the next steps, which is our passes and our prayer. We need to allow this moment to go much deeper than just us being here passively receiving. Ask the spirits to help you, to help us move to the next phase, whatever the next phase is for us. They want us to call for help. They say, open your hearts, open your minds, and just listen because they're here to help already. They already came prepared. So friends, this is an invitation for us. Lots of books to read. This is a great one, short. You will eat it because it's so interesting. And if you haven't read No Solar or seen the movie, do it. Because it helps create this visual of what a planet of regeneration can be. The beautiful flowers, the birds, the lights, the buildings, how bright the sun shines. They describe everything. All right? So let us now get ready. I will go inside and just get the team and we'll start with the passes. All right?
You can stay here. I'll be here. All right. So let us prepare for the passes. For those who are over the internet, take a look at Jesus' picture and follow through the instructions. You can wait a little more. Let us now visualize the healing hands of Master Jesus, who is all compassionate and kind. He knows the remedies that we need. Let us feel the remedies falling upon us, permeating our minds and bodies. Let us raise our thoughts, helping one another, reminding ourselves that we're children of God. We're children of the light and we are also light. Let us visualize this shower of healing light falling upon us, displacing toxins of the mind and the bodies, and replenishing us with health, with abundant health. Let us help one another by visualizing the illuminated heart of Jesus, radiating pure healing molecules that touch our minds, our bodies, our homes, and empower us to our very inner light. Let us feel that His light allows our light to shine more brightly in love and in peace. Let us raise our thoughts and feel the presence of our best friend, Master Jesus. He knows exactly what we need. Let us visualize our bedrooms. Invite him over to cleanse the environment where we rest the physical body and continue on learning the spiritual realm while we sleep. Let us visualize him blessing our bedrooms where we restore ourselves every day. We know Jesus is our best friend. We're going to visualize him now. Master Jesus, we feel your presence, and especially your love for children and teens. We visualize that your illuminated hands are blessing everyone at this moment. We will sustain this image of you while we continue with our service. Now we ask everyone to join us in a final prayer. In gratitude, visualizing our homes. Let us visualize all of our homes being entered, receiving the presence of the illuminated spirit doctors, nurses, and therapists. Let us welcome them to our homes as they cleanse the environment, rescue those who are in need of help, and also place a vase of beautiful healing flowers on our dining table to balance ourselves at each meal. Thank you, dear Master Jesus, for never giving up on us, for always caring, providing divine resources sent by God. We thank you for this therapeutic meeting, short but deep in your presence. In just an hour and a half, we hope to have rebalanced ourselves, calibrated ourselves, to work with you side by side one day, helping people that you present to us in a daily basis, at school, at work, at home, in our neighborhoods, in our communities. Feeling your loving embrace, we thank you always for being the divine presence in our lives. And with you, we say glory to God. Peace on earth and goodwill amongst ourselves. And so be it.
Yes.